All right, let's talk about something we've all wondered about. You spend all this time perfecting your resume. You send it off, and then crickets. It's like it just disappeared, right? Well, today, we're going to crack the code on the real gatekeepers of the job market, the applicant tracking systems. We are going to figure out what these resume robots are actually looking for so you can finally get your resume into the hands of a real person.
Seriously? You spend hours, maybe even days, getting every word just right. You hit that submit button feeling hopeful, and then just silence. It really does feel like it vanished into a black hole. But here's the thing. It didn't just disappear, it hit a digital wall first. And that wall is called an applicant tracking system, or ATS. Just think of it as software that nearly every major company, we're talking over 95% of the Fortune 500, uses to manage the absolute flood of applications they get. This system is the very first thing to read your resume, and trust me, it plays by a completely different set of rules than any human will.
And that right there is the key to this whole thing. You have to understand that your first audience isn't a person at all, it's a machine. And that one simple fact means we got to rethink everything about how we write a resume.
Okay, so check this out. A human recruiter, they might see a resume and think, wow, look at this creative design, what an elegant layout. But the ATS, it sees none of that. Literally zero. The system just rips your resume apart, turns it into a plain text file, and then searches for two things and two things only: structured data and specific keywords. And this is so important to get. The ATS does not understand creativity. In fact, all that time you spent making your resume look visually amazing could actually be working against you. Things like complex formatting, images, tables, even some fancy fonts. They can totally confuse the software. It might misread your info, or even worse, just skip right over your most important qualifications.
So, if it doesn't care one bit about design, what does it care about? Well, let's get into how an ATS actually thinks. It really all boils down to three key things that decide whether your resume gets seen or just tossed into the digital trash can. So here they are. First, and most importantly, it's looking for keyword matches. Second, it's analyzing the hierarchy of your sections, basically the order in titles. And third, it takes all that info and spits out something called a relevance score. Let's break each of these down. Keyword matching. This is the big one. The ATS is basically playing a simple game of word search. The recruiter feeds it a list of skills and qualifications straight from the job description, and then the software just scans your resume to see how many of those exact words and phrases pop up.
So for example, let's say you're applying for a project manager job. If the description lists Agile, Scrum, and budgeting, then you absolutely need those exact terms on your resume. Saying you manage project funds might make perfect sense to a person, but the machine is not smart enough to connect that to budgeting. You have to speak its language, literally. Okay, the second factor is all about hierarchy. The ATS is programmed to look for information in very specific, predictable places. It expects to find your job history under a simple, standard heading like work experience, not something creative like my professional journey. Honestly, the best thing you can do is keep it simple and standard. Just use the common headings in a logical order. Contact info first, then work experience, then skills, then education. This just makes sure the system can grab your information correctly. This is not the time to get clever. Clarity always beats creativity for the robot.
And finally, the ATS takes everything it found, your keywords, your job titles, all of it, and it calculates a single match score. Think of it like a grade. It's just a percentage that says how well you line up with what the job description is asking for. And that score determines your fate. A recruiter might set the system to say, hey, only show me resumes that score an 80% or higher. So you could be the perfect person for the job, but if your resume scores low, a human being will never ever see it. Looking at this chart, you can probably guess that only candidate A is getting that call.
So what's the big lesson in all of this? It really requires a huge shift in how you even think about what a resume is for.
If you remember one thing, let it be this. Your resume is a data file, not a poster. You're not making a piece of art for someone to hang on a wall. You're building a structured document that's designed to be easily read by a computer program. Its only job, at first, is to pass the machine's test. So here's your new game plan. Start thinking like the machine. Put clarity way above any creative design. For every single job you apply for, go through and match the keywords from the description. And please, stick to the boring, standard section headings that the robot is expecting to see. So I'll just leave you with this question.
Go take a look at your resume right now. Is it built to impress a person, or is it optimized to get past the robot? Because the reality is, to get a human to even see it, you have to get past the machine first.